Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's Town Manager Update. I am James Milan, and of course, I'm joined by our Town Manager, Adam Chapdelaine. Adam, obviously, first topic, as always, for today's conversation is COVID, and a couple of notes from my end as we move into November here. I have to say that the weather is reminding us that we're not going to be outside dining for very much longer, if at all. And then also with regard to the numbers, as I look at them, just recently we had spoken about passing 400 in terms of total cases, and already we're now up to 424, 425, something like that. So clearly we've got something to talk about here. So bring us up to date, please.
So you're spot on, James. We're seeing an uptick in Arlington. We're seeing an uptick statewide. In Arlington and in many other places that we've heard about, seems to be stemming from sporting events and gatherings at private residences. Those seem to be where the cases are coming from, not universally, but predominantly. So we're concerned. We're very concerned about the uptick. It is in a younger population, so the outcomes aren't necessarily as problematic as they were when it was an older population being impacted earlier this year. But certainly when any aspect of the population starts to get impacted, it could spread to other portions of the population, and we are worried about that, especially as we start to enter the holiday season.
Yeah, that really does seem to be the danger in this moment is that we are not seeing necessarily right away increased hospitalizations or God forbid deaths, which are obviously tragic, but also draw everybody's attention and galvanize people's behavior in a way that what's happening right now just may not. So I'm sure that you are concerned about that. Are any changes happening locally that people should know about to address this?
So we haven't made any decisions to put in place any deeper restrictions at this time. We're definitely urging people to avoid private gatherings. I know we heard the governor earlier this week really urging people to avoid any type of private gathering that has more than just their close network. We all know any of us could have it and be asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic, and then bring it and spread it to other people. So anything we can do to avoid those gatherings, as tempting as they are, I think is very important. So I think today we're really urging people to avoid that. We also want to urge people to really exercise caution on Halloween. Please resist that temptation to have a Halloween party and take a look at the guidance that the town has issued, as well as the CDC has issued and the DPH has issued about lower risk Halloween activities. Traditional trick-or-treating is not considered to be lower risk. Other ideas, more innovative ideas where sort of grab bags could be left at the end of your drive or your walk or whatever it might be. There's a list, again, available on the town website of lower risk activities. But yeah, we're talking about other measures. I've been talking both locally with our team as well as with mayors and managers from other communities to see what other communities are thinking. And I think we're all in the same place. We're very concerned, and we know it's likely that restrictions are going to have to be rolled back in, but we want the science and data to drive it. So had a good discussion earlier this week, again, with a group of mayors and managers, and we plan on bringing in some experts to take a look at the data with us and suggest where we should target our efforts so that we can be as effective as possible.
And one last note. I have found it slightly surprising, I'm sure others may have as well, to hear that, and this does not pertain directly to Arlington right now because we are not, there are not very many of our school children attending school in person, but school itself does not seem, or schools themselves, data coming from other parts of the state would indicate that's not been, a magnet for the virus in the same way as people were worrying about. I know these are early days still, but it's a notable fact.
Yeah, no, I think that's very notable. It's consistent with what we've read more broadly and locally, that schools don't seem to be a major source of transmission. I mean, I'll also say locally, we feel like we want to prioritize schools. If we can keep kids in school and maybe get even kids back to school more regularly, I think we all agree that that should be the priority as opposed to private parties or other things that could spread and then limit our ability to have kids in schools. So, um, so yeah, no, I think you're right. It is notable that schools don't seem to be a significant source of transmission.
Well, unless there's something else to address around COVID, I'm going to move on to the next topic.
I just quickly add, we've pushed it out there this week on social media, and I believe we made it available on the town website, and it's definitely been made available in other media outlets. The MWRA does testing of our sewage to be able to test for the prevalence of COVID. And if you look at those charts, it is surging again. So if you have doubt about the amount of testing or the accuracy of what's being reported out by the DPH or hospitals, what's going into our sewage doesn't lie, right? It's being tested, and the prevalence of COVID is there, and we're surging something that looks like something similar to where we were in April of earlier this year. So regardless of the actual case numbers we're seeing, the virus is out there and it is beginning to surge again.
Well, perhaps the only thing, at least on a national level, the only thing that could possibly squeeze COVID or join COVID as a co-headline each and every day as we wake up is, of course, the election, which by the time we speak next will have taken place. And obviously, Arlington people have been voting for a while, both mail-in and early voting in person. Just an update on how that's going and what you expect leading up to Tuesday.
So seemingly is going very well so far. I checked the number this morning. Arlington is at just about 60% voter turnout now, combination of early voting and mail-in voting. So that's a pretty high number. We didn't crack the top 10 in the state, but we were right up there in terms of voter turnout. Early voting continues today, Thursday, until noon tomorrow, October 30th, and then early voting ends. And then polls will be open on Tuesday, Election Day, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. I do want to note that to avoid any Halloween shenanigans, we are going to lock the ballot drop boxes beginning Saturday afternoon through Saturday night, and then reopening them on Sunday just to avoid any potential issues there. But so far, like I said to you last week, the team in the clerk's office, the select board's office, all of the poll workers, the facilities team, I think have just done an outstanding job in operating a safe early election operation or early voting operation, excuse me. And they've continued to adjust on the fly to respond to concerns raised, to make improvements. I was mentioning to you before we started filming, the parking spot I usually use in town hall, we've turned into an additional handicap parking spot just to make sure we're making things as accessible as possible during this early voting.
Yeah, and clearly with 60% already having voted, and still a couple of days left in this process, it should be, I would imagine, mostly clear sailing on Tuesday, Election Day, for those who decide to vote in person.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it won't be very busy. I know the election workers, the poll workers will have a lot of work to do in feeding ballots into the machines that were received via mail in the early voting ballots. So it'll be a busy day for them, but hopefully there won't be many, if any, lines for people to wait in based on the amount of people that have already voted.
Great. So one other point, Adam, and this kind of fits in the category of, I think some people might have, probably lots of people saw this as one of those rare silver linings in this whole pandemic mess. But the free parking that has been available throughout town at the meters for months and months now, that is coming to a close next week, as I understand.
So starting on November 4th, the day after the election, the meters on the streets and in the lots in Arlington Center will be turned back on. We will go, let's say, soft on enforcement in the first couple weeks, because we're not trying to penalize people. Right from the start, we've always wanted to make sure there was turnover so that the businesses could be patronized, and that's exactly what we want to do here. Things are starting to pick back up. Thankfully, people are patronizing businesses a little bit more. The construction's wrapping up on the sidewalks, so we're turning the meters back on again in Arlington Center, on the streets and in the lots. The good news is, for anybody worried about touching the meters, we are simultaneously rolling out a pay-by-phone app. So people like in neighboring communities in Somerville and Cambridge and Boston will be able to pay the parking meter by phone. They'll have to download the app, but then pretty easily be able to pay, feed the meter electronically without having to touch anything.
Well, that, again, that we took one silver lining away, we're giving one back, right?
Right. We try. We
Yeah,
try.
and obviously it is generally good news. I'm being facetious, but the fact that the meters will be up and running again is because, as you say, you want to promote that turnover. That's because things are picking up again. That's got to be good news for everybody.
Yes, I think so.
All right. Anything else that you'd like to mention before we let you go?
Just, if you haven't voted already, please vote. I think we all believe it's very important for us to all exercise our right to vote. And again, to reiterate, please be safe this Halloween weekend. We know it's tough to tell the little ones that trick-or-treating might not be possible this year, but please do everything you can to be safe and protect yourself and your family.
I know you have little ones yourself, so you know whereof you speak. So good luck to you on Halloween. I hope you and the kids enjoy your time, and to everyone here in Arlington as well. I've been speaking to Adam Chapdelaine, our town manager, as part of our weekly update, and I'm James Milan. Thanks for joining us. We will see you next time.